Thank you, Art. Thank you all for being here. Some of you have met. I'm so happy to meet the rest of you. Please come say hi afterwards. Before I start, when we were driving here, my wife looks at me. That's the beautiful woman sitting right there. And she looks at me and she goes, you know, I was gonna drive since you're gonna speak. I don't want you to be stressed out. And then she looks at me and goes, but if I drive, you'd be more stressed out, so I'll let you drive. She's my best friend and my partner in everything I do. Best thing about me is right there, that woman. She's a producer. She co-produced the movie with me. She runs my production company. She's a realtor. She's an IFBB fitness pro. She's worked with Disney, Sony, Marvel, ESPN for the last 16 years in visual effects, representing some of the big companies. Woman of many talents. And so that's my wife, Michelle Ray, right there. I want to introduce one other person who just moved here. That's Simon right there in the hat. Please stand up, Simon. A very, very talented overall filmmaker. He was a DIT. That means when you shoot the movie and you process all the footage, you have to back it up 3 different locations. And he was the guy who was doing all my dailies, so I didn't have to do it. There are people that have shot movies and they lost their footage. And then there's no movie, right? So he did that, but beside that, this man knows how to edit, shoot, color correct. He shot a movie under 40 grand with Tiffany Haddish that you can get on Amazon. That he shot himself, like, what, 7 days he shot the movie in?
7 days.
Which is incredible for like 35 grand. And I got him to finally move from LA to here as everybody else is moving here. There's a big migration happening, so I said, you should come here and meet everybody, as I met some wonderful people. So, I didn't prepare for a speech. I'm going to talk about what I loved about what I heard so far is everybody overcame adversity. And they've, the 2 gentlemen that spoke right before this, it wasn't about the money. They wanted to make a movie and they went and made a movie. That's a win. That's a win. You made a movie. It's war making a movie. And to me, you might get the money back, you might not. You know going into this that this is my passion, this is what I'm going to do. I'm gonna tell you guys, I moved here in 1997, I was homeless. I was sleeping in my car. I had $150 in my pocket. My credit was $500. And I got a job at a Wall Street firm. They weren't gonna pay me for at least a month and a half till I passed the Series 7. And I had $150 in my pocket. So I got a $12 membership at the Green Valley Parkway, first 24-hour fitness in the city. And I would sleep outside in the car. I would get up at 4 in the morning, take a shower, put my suit on. I'd be in the office by 6. And I would stay there till 10 because I didn't know anybody. And I would cold call. And I would study for the Series 7. I had to survive on $150. $250,000 in debt from college. Which I was delinquent on credit cards. I was delinquent on student loans. It was bad. I didn't know how I was going to ever come out of that. Well, when I got the job at UBS, which is one of the biggest Wall Street firms, they pretty much told us that 50% of you will be gone within first month. And at that time, rookies used to get paid $24,000 base salary plus commission. I was very good at interviewing, and I negotiated a $70,000 salary. And I said, okay, well, if I get paid for 6 months before they fire me, somehow I'll make it 6 months and then I'm good. That was my plan. Well, I was staying there and I would cold call while I'm waiting to pass the Series 7. And on the weekends, I didn't know anybody in the city. I would go out to the club, and I like to dance. I used to compete in hip hop freestyle. Hey. And yeah, there you go. And I used to battle. I used to do this battle with other guys, and I would get in the club. Well, I went to Club Rio, was the hottest club here. And I walked up there, and the line was around the building, and they were like, $70 cover charge? And I'm like, oh my God, if I pay $70, what am I gonna eat? So I'm like walking around and I'm like, how am I gonna get in? Well, I go to the restroom and one of the security guys comes to the restroom and I just made a comment to him. I said, hey man, that was really great how you handled those jerks. And this guy looks at me and goes, yeah man, I see that all the time. I mean, you're from here. I'm like, no, I just moved here from Chicago. I don't know anybody here. And he's like, oh man, I'm from Chicago. I'm like, cool, man. We started talking. He goes, have you seen the club? I said, no, man, I can't afford it. He's like, come on, man, I got you. Walks me in. The moment he walked me in that club, by the time I left that night, I knew the manager, the general manager, the dancers. I was teaching the dancers how to dance. After that weekend, I would go to the club 3 nights a week, and I was walking in like VIP, like I knew somebody, when I didn't have $10 in my pocket, right? So I say this to everybody, and I live by this. People don't fail because they lack resources. People fail because they lack resourcefulness. I tell everybody to write that down because that's been the blueprint of my life. I'm the guy that runs at a cliff 100 miles an hour, jump off the cliff, I build a parachute on the way down. And I figure out how I'm gonna do it. And anybody that's successful in anything, they pretty much all live by that same blueprint. So I remember going to training in New York as a stockbroker. There were 189 people in my training class. And they said, look around to your left and right, 50% of you won't be here within 2 weeks. And I was like, wow. Well, we did 3 weeks training, then we came back to Vegas. I passed my Series 7. Make a long story short, out of 189 people, I'm the only one standing as a stockbroker. And 5 years later, I took the clients and I started my own company. So that laid the foundation. I remember when I launched my company in 2002, the tech market had crashed. And when I started the company, I took all my clients and I started my company. I knew I wasn't gonna make any money the first 2 months. I took out $5,000 from my credit card, and that's how I started the company. I didn't make any money first month, didn't make any money second month. The third month, I made $74,000. By 1 year, I was debt-free. 2005, I launched my production company because every time I went to an audition in Hollywood, they looked at me and they said, yeah, I'm here to audition for the Indian guy. And they said, you can't audition for the Indian guy. I'm like, why not? He goes, you don't look Indian. I go, well, what the hell do I look like? They wouldn't tell me. And I'm like, what, you think every Indian guy is like skinny, dark, and they work in 7-Eleven, they talk with the accent and sell me Slurpees? You know, the guy's like, and the guy's like, well, man, you're too muscular, you're this, you're that. I go, what do I look like? He goes, you look Hispanic, you look Mexican. I go, great. Are you auditioning for a Mexican guy? They're like, yeah, 2 of our leads are Latino. I go, I speak fluent Spanish. I compete in salsa merengue, let me audition. Yeah, but we want an authentic Mexican guy. So I'm just like, these guys are not gonna let me through the door. Right. So I went and wrote a script. I said, I'm gonna direct this. Most people write a short film, then they write a script. I wrote a script. I manage money for a lot of the guys in Hollywood, some of the top agents, managers, producers, directors. So I sent it to 2 agents in Hollywood. I said, hey, just give me some notes on my script. Instead of notes, one guy came back with an offer for $90,000, another guy came back with an offer for $150,000. And mind you, even though I'm working as a stockbroker and I paid off my debt at this time, I'm still kind of breaking even at this point. So $150 was a lot of money. So I was all excited. I go to LA to meet these guys. The guy that offered $90,000 was a jerk. He was like, look, we don't want you. Either give us the script or get the fuck out of here. He was like that, right? I was like, I'm not giving you my script. The next guy, he was nice. He looks at me, he goes, Ron, have you ever made a short film? I said, no. Music video? No, but I've been acting since I'm 15. He goes, yeah, but think about it. You're an investment guy. How am I gonna sell you? If I attach you as a director, how am I gonna sell you to the investors? They're gonna say, this guy's a stockbroker. What the hell does he know about making movies? Right. The light bulb went on my head. I'm like, wow, you're right. You know what I did after that? He looks at me and he goes, you're not gonna give me the script, are you? I'm like, no. I go, thank you so much, but I don't have time to write another 100-page script because I work all day. So I said, but I appreciate your time. Next 2 years, from 2003 to 2005, I sat in Barnes & Noble and read every book on producing and directing, wrote a 20-minute short film, a pilot. I got people from LA because what I was experiencing here was lack of professionalism. So I went to LA, got some people, and I shot my first short for $4,500. But that was an interesting part. What I did was, at that time the HD revolution was starting in 2005. I bought the Sony Z1U, the first HD camera. It was $7,000 on my credit card. I used that, I hired a cinematographer and I said, hey, if you shoot my thing, I'll let you use my camera. He was all for it. I shot that short, which won 17 festivals, but here was the kicker. that little $7,000 camera I bought with my credit card, I rented it out in Hollywood over the next 2 years and made $54,000. And with that money, I bought the editing system, I bought the lights, I bought the jibs, mics, everything. And then that same guy comes to me, the cinematographer, and I was always good with people. I was fair to people. So I told that guy, if you can rent this camera out for me, first $2,000 I want you to keep. And he's like, for what? I go, you just helped me make this movie. I wouldn't have made this without you. And I go, after that, when you rent it, I want you to keep 50% of the money. And he was shocked. He was like, man, you don't have to give me 50%. You can give me 10%, 20%. I'm like, no, man, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be renting it. That guy today is shooting movies with Samuel Jackson, and he's one of my closest friends. Wow. But I took care of people along the way when I didn't have much. That was the point. And it's important to remember that if you treat people like gold, right? Ultimately, you will get where you need to get. Nobody can stop you from getting what's yours, right? Because of him, I made close to 60 grand, and then he came to me a year and a half later, and he said, hey, there's a new camera coming out, Panasonic. We can buy this. I can sell your camera for $3,500. I go, really? I paid 7 grand, I never made all this money? He goes, yeah, I can sell your camera for $3,500. We can get the new camera, it's gonna cost 11 grand. I said, okay, put it on my credit card, bought that. First job, David Beckham gave us 10 grand for 7 days work. And the whole time, I kept making short films, I kept producing short films. The money I was making here, I was putting in here. My film school was that. Because here's what I learned a long time ago. Anybody can make a movie, but if you make something that's not good, you get branded in Hollywood, they're not gonna give you, they won't let you in the door. Now you're stuck in no budget, right? And you can't get the money back. So, I could have made a movie in 2006. I had the camera, I had the equipment, I had everything. But I held myself back, and I kept doing shorts. And this is what I did. My first short was 4,500. Second short was 2,000. Third short was 1,500. Fourth short was 1,000. Then it was 800. I kept lowering the budget. Because what I was doing is, I was teaching myself the art of taking $1 and making it look like $1,000. Because someday when finally somebody gives me money, I can make something great with it. Anybody can do it. If I give you money, anybody can hire the people. They don't. But I wanted people on my team that could think outside the box. I was building that team, and there's people came, people left. There's something I'll tell you about me. I avoid still people, still broke, still complaining, still it's somebody else's fault. I see them, stay away from them. Wish you all the best, because they will put you in a negative space of mind. They will tell you why something can't be done. Everything is possible. I say this all the time. Anything is possible. You just got to figure out how, right? So I kept making these shorts, and then I started producing for other people, right? And I would learn from what that director was doing, even though I was helping him. I picked up this skill from him, that skill from him. Along the way, I taught myself how to edit, how to produce, how to color correct, how to run camera, and I studied movies non-stop. Every short film that won an Oscar, every movie that won an Oscar. I wanted to see what these guys are looking at and where I need to be. Now, everybody along the way is telling me, Ron, make a horror film. I'm like, nah, I'm not doing a horror film. Because everybody's doing a horror film, and my goal was, when I finally come up, let me step back. I met a director named Denis Villeneuve who directed Dune. Have you guys seen Dune? Yeah. The first one? Yeah. He also directed Sicario. Nice. Phenomenal director. Dune 2 is out in theater right now. And he said something really interesting to me 20 years ago. I met him at a party. And he said, Ron, when you make your first film, don't do it for the masses. Don't try to make money, don't do it for the masses. Do it to impress your peers, directors, producers, people that are in the business, agents, managers. And another light bulb went on, and here's the reason. I could have all the money in the world. I could go to Robert De Niro with a script. Robert De Niro's agent won't even let me get to him because he's gonna see what I've done. He won't care that I didn't have any money when I make that short. He will go, Robert, if you work with this guy, your career's gonna die. Unless Robert De Niro's in my movie, I can't get the publicity for the movie. Like, it's like one of those things like, they just come first. You can't get here because gatekeepers won't let you in. So my first movie had to be something that stood out. So in 2017, my wife and I, we made a short film called Death Note, based on the famous Japanese anime, because Netflix spent 45 million, made a garbage Death Note. It was terrible. They got like zeros and fans hated it, and they whitewashed it. They took the Japanese character as a lead, and yeah, it was garbage. And they put a white guy as a lead. That's like, let me make Ice Cube's story and make a white guy be the lead, you know? So it's like, so we made this thing, and we put it online. I didn't do any marketing, had 85,000 views. It went viral. Studio guys were calling me, head of Amazon Studios called me, talked to me for like an hour. And he said, do you have a script? He went through all my work, and I had done all these music videos over the years, $1,500, zero budget, $1,000 budget. And he was really impressed about how I thought outside the box. He said, do you have a script that you want to direct? Because I want to make business with you. And I said, yeah, I have a lot of scripts, but they're B grade. I got to come out of the gate guns blazing, or nobody cares who I am. Because I'm impressed, come see me. 2017. There's a guy called Brian Bannicat who I met when Michelle was competing in March of 2012. We spoke for maybe 2 minutes. And he was on stage competing in men's physique, and I was taking Michelle's picture with professional cameras. And I always do random acts of kindness. This guy was kind of funny. I remember him, and I was like, oh, it's that guy. I started shooting his pictures. And then when he was walking by, I was like, hey dude, I took some professional pictures. If you want it, I'll give it to you. He's like, oh man, yeah. We exchanged Facebook. We didn't speak from 2012 to 2017. He calls me and he goes, hey bro, I didn't know you made movies. Death Note is amazing. Let's talk. And I'm like, all right. We talked for a while. He's like, I used to do some acting. Then he's like, he sees all my equipment. He's like, well, I'll give you a couple $1 million if you want to make a movie. Think about that. Most people can't get money, and this guy's offering me money. And I go, oh, that's cool. Thanks, I'll let you know. He doesn't hear from me. 2018, he calls me. He goes, man, you're the only guy I know I'm offering money to, and you don't want to take it. I go, Brian, I want to tell you again. If I make a shit movie, I'm stuck in low-budget hell. And I might as well not make a movie, because the effort is the same you have to put in to make a great movie versus, I go, I need a great script. Without a great script, there's no great movie. In the meantime, guys, I read 4,000 scripts. I was reading scripts after scripts after scripts. Not all of them were bad, but some of them were, you have to spend like 20, 30, $40 million out of my range. She gets the job in Vancouver. We moved to Vancouver for 3 months. I'm thinking I'm gonna write something great. After managing stock portfolios from 6 to 1, my brain's fried. I keep writing, reading it, oh, this is crap, throw it away. This girl starts following me, this black girl starts following me on Instagram. I look at her picture, I'm a pretty girl, whatever. Put the Instagram back to work. Well, about a week later, I was stuck, and I started reading her Instagram post. And the moment I read her Instagram post, I knew her writing was different. She was better than anything I've read. So then I decided to reach out to her and said, hey, my name is Ron, I own a production company, I have financing. I was gonna hire her to write something for me. So let's get on a phone call. So we get on a phone call. First thing I do, I make my wife stay up and talk to her, because I didn't want this girl to think I'm sliding in her DM, hey, I'm a producer. You know, so I'm like, Michelle, you gotta stay up, talk to this girl first. So I made Michelle talk to her first for 10 minutes. And then we're talking, you know, and I'm like, have you done any work? She's done one short film. I'm like, send it to me. I'm like, your writing's different. So I go, maybe you could write something for me. So I was thinking about hiring her to co-write something for me. She goes, yeah, I would love to. She goes, by the way, I've been trying to make this movie for 7 years. 10 different producers were attached. Ben Affleck's company was attached, but they keep dropping out. Nobody's gonna give me money to do this. I want to direct this movie called Trees of Peace. Will you produce it? I said, no. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm turning 50 in October. This is February of 2019. I'm turning 50 October 23rd, right? And I said, I gotta make my movie. I got the financing. I go, if I get busy producing somebody else's movie, I'm going, two years of my life is gone. She goes, well, thank you for being honest with me. Guys keep telling me they're gonna do things, they sign with me, and then 6 months, they waste my time, they can't get money. I go, okay, well, send me the script, let me read it. At least I need to know what your writing sample looks like. And the reason I'm telling you guys this story is, I want you to see how bizarre, like you're literally one thing away from being the most successful or your dream coming true. And that's what this story is about, right?
Come on.
So that night, I read the script. She goes to bed, 8 o'clock. My wife is ride or die till 8 p.m. So she was gone at 8. So I'm like, all right, I got all the time. I read the script, and I still remember 11:30. I'm sitting in balcony at Vancouver, downtown, overlooking the water, the mountains, and 3 things hit me. Holy shit! I have an Oscar-winning script in my hand. Number 2, there's no way in hell she's making this movie. If a studio producer falls in love with this movie, they're gonna go, oh, awesome! This is an amazing script. I'm gonna get Margot Robbie to play the white girl. I'm gonna get Viola Davis, Lupita, Kerry Washington. And they're all gonna come in and they're gonna look at this little black girl, 20, 30, 40 years old, and go, she's never directed anything? We can't have her direct, bring in Ava DuVernay and they'll kick her out. So there's no way that's why this movie's not being made. Because they can't even raise financing with her attached. But this story takes place in one place. I knew how to make that movie.
Come on.
Because I made Death Note for $4,000 and people in Hollywood thought I spent $150K. I could make that movie for 50 grand. I knew how to make it. I could do it in my backyard. I would build the whole, and by the way, Trees of Peace is about 3 black women and a white woman hiding in a 5x5 room in the basement, surviving for 81 days during the genocide in Rwanda.
Wow.
In 94.
Yeah, very recently, right? So, at that point, I talked to my wife next day and I said, I think I'm gonna pivot. And she's like, what do you mean? I go, read the script. She read it, and I said, I want to make this movie. And she's like, you mean you're going to direct? And I'm like, no, I think I'm going to produce. And she goes, are you sure? Because this is going to take us off our path for 3 years. I said, I'd rather be known for a great movie as a producer than a crap or B-grade movie as a director. Then I called her up and I said, I'm going to produce this movie. And of course she was excited. She will tell you, she thought I was catfishing her because she's been disappointed so many times. She didn't even think I was real. And so anyway, make a long story short, I go to raise financing, and I had black millionaires, black famous actors telling me, this will never work, you shouldn't do this. Somebody very famous said to me, I'm black, and I wouldn't watch 3 black girls sitting in a room talking. And I go, and it's got only women in it, there's hardly any men. And I go, do you think I go looking at a movie and go, hey, this movie's got all guys in it, let me go watch it. I watch great movies, and this is an incredible script. And the more people told me that nobody would watch it because it only had women in it, more it pissed me off.
Right.
And then I said, I'm gonna make this. When I couldn't get financing, I flew out to San Francisco and I met with Brian.
Come on.
And I said, Brian, I wanna make this movie. And this dude loves Marvel movies. So he looks at me like, Rwanda? What is this, right? But he trusted me, and he's like, okay, bro, if you wanna make this, but this is where Brian drops the hammer on me. He goes, I'll give you all the money you need. My only condition is you direct the movie. This is 3 years before Black Lives Matter, 3 years before all this stuff. And I go, nope, this has to be directed by her. And she said, no. His partner and him are arguing with me. Because 3 years ago, I knew how I was gonna sell the movie.
Right.
An Indian guy is telling a story of 3 black women. It doesn't go as well. Plus, I also was impressed with her drive. That this little black girl didn't give up for 7 years. She's still going. She even did a Kickstarter and raised like 50 grand or something like that, right? So I had to fight and convince them. Now mind you, I'm a director. I have done 26 shorts, 30 music videos, commercials. I've acted in movies. Alana's done 1 short film. And I'm fighting to let her direct this movie. Which becomes a key thing later when we went to sell the movie, and I'll come back to it. So anyway, I convinced them we're gonna do this. And he goes, okay, well how much do you need, 2 million? Now, most people in Hollywood would have taken the 2 million, paid themselves $1 million, made the movie for less. I said, no, I only need 600,000. I only needed 500, but I wanted 100 as a safety. And he goes, how can you make a movie for 600? I said, trust me. I said, if I spend 2 million, I'm not gonna get the money back.
Amen.
Okay, and I've been around so many people that made movies that couldn't get their money back because the distributors rob you. I can tell you everything about distributors, how they screw you. I've studied this stuff for years. Yeah. I'm friends with president of distribution companies and they tell me how they screw you, right? So I was like, I'm a man of integrity. For me, getting that money back was really important. And here's the next thing I did. Now, anybody that raises money in Hollywood, if I raised 600,000 and if I want to pay myself 60 grand, nobody would complain. 10% finder's fee, plus producing fee. Michelle and I didn't pay ourselves a dime. We paid everybody. We didn't pay ourselves a dime. In fact, today the check hit. Now we're going to start getting paid, and it's been 3 years. But we went to war, we made this movie, we finished this movie, and then everybody loved the movie in Hollywood, except my wife and I hated the movie. We were like, wow, like this movie doesn't work. And it was beautifully shot, it had Oscar level acting, but the editing sucked, and nobody was picking it up, nobody was saying it. Like, so we went to UTA and CA, and they're all fighting to represent our movie, and I'm watching them, halfway through the movie, they're all looking at their phone. Movie doesn't work, but nobody's telling us that. So anyway, we meet that day after the UTA meeting, and the 2 investors are with us, they're happy, because everybody's patting our back, and I look at them and I drop the bomb and I go, we gotta re-edit this movie. And they're like, what are you talking about? Everybody loves us. I said, they don't love us. They just don't want to say anything against a bunch of black girls. I go, the movie sucks. I go, I love movies. I cry in movies. I didn't cry once. I go, this movie's too long. It's 2 hours. It's where it takes place. It needs to be contained. So they don't agree with me, but they said, okay, whatever, we'll back you. I call the director, and she's like, no way, I can't even cut 5 more minutes. I reasoned, she goes, what else? I go, we need to add Rwanda footage, which was my wife's idea in the beginning, and then we go back and forth. I go, the music is flat, the editing is flat. She goes, I don't agree with you. Now this is where my experience paid off. When we did the contract, I retained final cut. So I decide what happens. And I go, Alana, you worked your ass off. You're tired. Please take a month off. You know, but this movie's not coming out. She got all upset, left. A month later, she calls me crying. She's like, oh my God, I saw the movie. Why is everybody saying it's so good? It sucks. And I go, yeah, we have great cinematography, great acting, but the editing was bad. If any of you have seen the movie, you know it's an 1.5 hour movie. Imagine that movie in 2 hours. You would have got bored, you would have gotten exhausted, because I needed the movie to be tight. Make a long story short, I get a new editor, new composer. I work for another 7 months for free, like flying back and forth from here to LA, hands-on this time. We re-edit the movie, get everything done. We go to Hollywood, we start entering festival, we win the Santa Barbara International Film Festival, top 7 festival. We win the jury award, we win the ADL Humanitarian Award, American Black Film Festival, we swept it. Despite all this, after all this, we got offered 50 grand. Everybody loved the movie, Netflix passed on it. Showtime and Paramount offered us 50 grand. Now think about that. You have the first 3, maybe first year to make up your money. If I give it to them for 50 grand, when I relicense the movie, that money's gone, right? And I was like, I'm not selling the movie. In the meantime, I had met CEO of Netflix, his wife, who's a very influential African-American woman, and I had shown her the first cut. Luckily, I had told her, I hate the movie, but look at it, tell me your notes. We saved my credibility with her. She didn't tell me she didn't like it. She just, when she called me back, I could tell she was very distraught, and that was another sign for me that this movie doesn't work. I re-edited it. Well, at this point, everybody's given up. They're like, let's take the 50 grand and go. I go, I'm not giving it up. I'm fighting with everybody once again. My director, my investors. My investor said to me, Ron, I'm never gonna hold this against you. You've done everything you can. You've done more than your share. You've not taken a dollar. But I just want to tell my friends I made a movie. I go, bro, nobody's gonna watch this movie. I don't even have Showtime and Paramount. I go, nobody's gonna see your movie. My director called me up and goes, Ron, the director or the investor don't care, why do you care? I said, I care because now we have a really good movie. Before we didn't. So this fight went on from March till October, and the whole time I'm trying to get a hold of Nicole Avant, Ted Sarandos' wife. Well, finally, she told me this later, but she just wanted to get rid of me. But she loved me as a person, but she was like, okay, let me just talk to him and get him off my back. Finally, I got on the phone with her. I spoke to her by the way, the day she messaged me, hey, call me, sorry, I've been busy. Me and Brian, the investors, are fighting. And Brian's like yelling at me, I'm yelling at him. We're like bros, we're like brothers, but I'm like cussing him out. I'm like, stop effing telling me I'm not signing. By the way, he could have overridden me because he's the boss, he's the money. But as much as he was fighting me, he had faith in me.
Come on.
Right? And we're going at each other and Brian's like, what are you waiting for? I'm like, I'm gonna have Netflix say no to me. And they said, Netflix said no to us twice. I said, I'm gonna have Nicole. I said, Nicole's not calling you back. As he says that, like a movie, my phone goes beep beep, and it goes Nicole. I'm so sorry, I've been busy. Call me at 1 o'clock, I'm gonna be driving, let's talk. I get on the phone, I go, shut up and call me at 1. He's like, I don't care, she's gonna take another 6 months to watch the movie now. I go, whatever, dude, you can be all negative, call me, you can listen to the call. 1 o'clock, she calls, we get on the call. My wife and Brian are listening to the call, and I talk to her for 45 minutes, and I hype her up, and I tell her things, and that got her thinking. I go, our movie won Scottsdale Film Festival. Scottsdale is all rich white people. Our shows were sold out. We won Best Film, Best Director. I was mobbed by old 70, 80, 90-year-old white people crying, and this is a black movie, right? And I go, and by the way, Ted Sarandos is from Phoenix, if you don't know. And when I said certain things, Nicole was like, wow, okay. Nicole goes, do you have a DVD copy of the movie? And I didn't, but I said, yeah, of course I do. Because I don't like links. Can you send, this was Wednesday. She goes, can you send it to me by Friday? Here's my home address, take it down. I'll get Ted to watch the movie. And I go, yeah, absolutely, sure, And I called Photocam, who's processing the movie, and once again, I run into a wall. They go, because of COVID, we got 2 guys working. Earliest I can get you a DVD is about 3 to 4 weeks. And I'm like, oh, no. Now, once again, remember my random act of kindness? When we were shooting, I became friends with Photocam, the owners, and I took them out to eat lunch a couple times, and I gave him stock tips, and we had become friends. And I called this dude up. I said, bro, Ted freaking Sarandos, the king of Hollywood's gonna watch my movie. I need a DVD yesterday. This dude goes in, gets me 2 DVD copies. The white girl, the actress in our movie, she was supposed to go on a date. She dropped her date, drove over to Photocam, picked it up in Burbank, drove to her house, quality control, drove it over to Ted and Nicole's house. Okay? She texted me Friday, I'll get Ted to watch the movie Saturday or Sunday, and I'll call you Sunday evening. I still remember this. Saturday comes, Sunday comes, all of us nervous, no phone call from Nicole. Brian calls me Sunday night. Dude, sign the thing, she's gonna take 6 months, blah, blah, blah. The director calls me. I'm yelling at both of them. I'm gonna make her say no to me, leave me alone. But she hasn't called, Sunday night. Monday morning, 5 o'clock, Brian calls me, I start trading at 6:30. I literally said, Brian, F off, and I hung up. I didn't even let him speak. 1 o'clock, I get a text from Nicole, I've seen the movie, please call me. Once again, Brian and Michelle are listening, and Nicole goes, oh my God, thank you so much for staying on my ass for 1.5 years. I would have made the biggest mistake of my life. This movie's amazing. Like, I can't believe I said no to you. I was crying. Ted goes, why the fuck are you crying? And I said to Ted, Ron offered me a chance to be an executive producer on this movie, and I said no to him. I screwed up. And as soon as she said that, I knew I got her. I said, you know what, Nicole? I go, I'd be honored to have you. Her best friends are Oprah Winfrey, Michelle Obama. She was a diplomat for the Obamas. The Clintons, Ava DuVernay. I mean, all I need is a tweet from them.
Right.
And I'm talking 5 million, 10 million in box office, right? So I'm like, look, I haven't taken a dime from this movie, but I'm gonna give you all my equity shares if you come on board. And she's like literally crying on the other side. She's like, no. She goes, ever since I met you, you've been about everybody else but yourself. I'm gonna come on board as an executive producer. I don't want anything. And she didn't take anything. She comes on board. Then a week later, she puts me on the phone with Ted Sarandos for 30 minutes. And before she got on the phone, she basically tells Ted, if you're recording, don't post this part. She tells me, don't tell Ted we spoke. I said, okay. So she puts me on the phone with Ted and goes, just be yourself, he'll love you. I end up speaking to Ted for 30 minutes. Ted goes, and he's really cool, really nice guy. And he goes, have you signed anything with anybody? I said, no, but I have offers from Paramount and Showtime. But I didn't tell him how much. And I'm playing it cool. And he goes, okay, well, I'm going out of town for 10 days. Send me a link to the movie. While I'm traveling, I'll watch it. Do me a favor, don't sign anything till I come back. Why don't you and Michelle come down to LA the third week of October? And by the way, I've never met Nicole Eva at this point, right? So 4 of us will have dinner. I was like, awesome. The moment I hang up, my phone starts blowing up from UTA, one of the biggest agencies in Hollywood. And the head of UTA is calling me going, what the hell is going on? They're like, Ron, what's going on with Trees of Peace? I just got a message from Netflix. Head of Netflix all of Netflix is in full scramble. They want a copy of the movie. And then one of the top guys at UTA calls me and he goes, what's going on? And I tell him the story. And he goes, look, man, how many movies have you made? I go, this is my first. I go, that's incredible, but I just don't want you to get your hopes up because I want you to understand something. Netflix's corporate mandate is once they pass on something, they don't pick it up again. Right? So I don't want you to get your hopes up. And I said, honestly, I don't care if they don't pick it up. And they said, the guy goes, what? I go, that's technically my plan B. He goes, what do you mean? I go, well, Gravitas offered me a 1-week theatrical deal in 10 cities. With Nicole Avant on board, I'm going to get a 2-week theatrical. If I can get Oprah, Michelle Obama, these people to tweet about my movie once, because it champions women of color.
Come on.
I go, if just 2 million people watches this movie, that's $20 million.
Let's go.
I go, I just need 500,000 people to watch this movie. So if Netflix says no to me, my plan is, that's actually plan B. He was like, man, I don't know you personally, but this is like brilliant. Like everybody else is playing chess and you're playing checkers. And the guy gets off the phone. They had tried everything. They couldn't sell the movie, so they were kind of shocked at this point. Let me tell you how many times God tests your will. Michelle and I go down to LA to meet Ted and Nicole for dinner. We land Sunday. Guess what happens Monday? Dave fucking Chappelle happens to be on Monday. Dave Chappelle does that whole transgender thing, and it blows up, and guess who backed Dave Chappelle? It was Ted Sarandos. So there was protests and strikes within Netflix. The whole world was coming down on Ted, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not gonna get to meet him. And it was my birthday, but Nicole was texting me every day, and we were there for the whole week. Saturday was my birthday. The director, producer of Rush Hour movies, Brett Ratner, took me and Michelle out to eat for my birthday, and I remember we're out there, and Nicole goes, I'm so sorry we haven't gotten to meet, but happy birthday from Ted and I. Let's see, maybe you can meet Monday. Because she took him out of town because there was so much heat on him. I mean, there was a possibility that thing could have gone bad and he would have to step down as a CEO. Right. And I'm like, Jesus, this is like nonstop, right? So Monday comes, at this point, I'm like, honey, let's just go. We spent $4,000 on hotel. Let's just go home. And she called me and she goes, don't worry, we'll meet next time, but we'll talk about it. I'm like, no, please take care of Ted. We're good. Now, if I was a video game on a 100, if my bar was at a 1, right? But I'm not showing it. As we're driving back from LA, my director calls me and me and her are fighting. And she's telling me, you can't wait for her, you just gotta do this, that. You better tell Nicole better do this, that. I'm like, I'm not gonna tell Nicole anything. I go, her family's under attack. I'm gonna trust the process. I'm gonna give her time. She doesn't need us. As we're fighting, my wife is mad. She's like, she's about to get on the phone with her to whoop her ass. And I was like, no, I got this. And I go, Alana, we are here because of me, right? She goes, yeah. I go, then have faith. Monday goes by, Tuesday goes by, Wednesday. Thursday, I still remember because I have the letter right here on my phone, copy of it. It was about 1 o'clock, right before market close, I get an email from Netflix. Hi, Ron. This is Lisa. She was the head of all of film. Ted and I have watched your movie. We absolutely love it. We would like to do a worldwide deal with you.
Come on.
Guys, we went from like 1 yard line with 1 second left to scoring a touchdown and winning the Super Bowl because we sold the movie for way more than our budget.
Right.
And of course, then Michelle and I, I did the negotiation for the next 2 months. We got everything we wanted. We got our money back. Our investors were whole, profits, all of it. And then Michelle, my wife, delivered the movie. She did like 80% of the work, dealing with 9, 10 different departments. And then we had gone to Cannes Film Festival before our movie came out, and they had invited us. We went to see the Top Gun premiere with Tom Cruise. We're walking the red carpet. I'm going, man, nobody's going to know us here. Nobody's going to take our picture. You can't take your picture, right? You can't take out a selfie on red carpet at Cannes. And as soon as we hit the red carpet, we hear people screaming, Ron Ray, Michelle Ray. And I'm like, is that us? No, trees of peace. And I'm like, and these whole media was yelling at us. So we go over there. They tell Michelle to pose. For 10 minutes, they're shooting Michelle. I'm standing on the side. Then they shoot me for like 2 minutes. Then they shoot us together. And other stars are waiting for us to get done. Everybody's wondering. And I'm waiting. And then I walked up to this photographer and I said, I'll pay you if you can give me those pictures. She's like, no, I've seen your movie. If you do an interview with me, I'll give you the pictures. And that's the picture that's on social media. That's how I got pictures.
Let's go.
10 minutes later, Trees of Peace comes out. 4 unknown actress, unknown director, unknown cast, unknown everybody. Top 10 in 60 countries within 5 days. Number 2 in France for 6 weeks. Number 2 in France for 6 weeks, where Cannes is held. And we were number 9 in the US. And I have a video of this on my Instagram because Michelle took it. Like if you look at the top movies before us, Titanic, Mission Impossible, Mission Impossible 2, $250 million movies. And then there's our movie, number 9, and number 10 is Hurt Locker, Oscar-winning movie.
Yeah.
Right? Anything is possible, guys. You gotta do the work. You gotta do the work, end of the day. And all that work I did, set it up. Now, Amazon called me, hey, we screwed up, sorry, whatever. Let us know what you want to do next. Once again, I'm being careful because next step matters.
Yeah.
But the bottom of the line, the story is that look how impossible this journey was, right? So if any of you have a dream, as long as you're willing to put in the work, it can happen. That's it. Thank you guys.
My friend, Ron Ray, everybody. Now tell me that wasn't a journey though. Like I said the short version, right? Like you made a movie for 600K and sold it for but all of that, like think about this. As a producer, you have your director, the person that wrote the movie, and she's the director. You have the people that gave you the money to be part of this movie and everything, and they're all like, this shit gotta go. I'll take the loss. It's all good. I want my name on some. All of that. And it took the willpower of these two. The wherewithal to know the vision that you put in when you go through these things. It don't matter what your vision is. To block out the naysayers, to push away all the bullshit. And follow your dream, follow your goal, follow that pathway, that little blue line, the flow, whatever you call it. That's what this is.
Can I say one?
Yes,
I want to
sir.
add one quick thing. Steven Spielberg saw the movie and said to me, I thought that was a $5 million movie.
Hey.
Biggest compliment you could get.
Come on.
Right? So, you gotta put in the work, you gotta study. Michelle and I, we don't socialize much. We're at the gym at 4 in the morning, I start working at 6, and then we're studying movies. When Oscars came out, we watch all the Oscar films, break it down. We study why something's successful. Even the movie that everybody hates, that wins the Oscar, why was it successful?
Right.
That part is crucial. Because if you don't have a reference point to what is good and what isn't, one funny thing, we did a Fifth Element podcast, and OT said to me, I don't know if you guys know OT or Rasul, and OT, I think it was OT who said this. He goes, man, when Art told me to watch this movie, I'm going, man, some dude in Vegas made a movie, it's gonna be some 2B movie, right? And he goes, and we started sitting down watching this movie, and I'm like, holy shit, this is some Spielberg shit. And when he said that to me, right, I was at the podcast, I was kind of like taken aback, but that was my vision. I was like, when I come out of the gate, if I don't catch people's attention, like next movie I do, Robert De Niro's gonna be in it, but Robert De Niro wouldn't have even read my script.
Right.
But now, he's gonna see Trees of Peace, every door in Hollywood's open.
Come on.
So that's the work right there.
Make some noise for Ron Ray, everybody.